First of big banking numbers coming out. IndusInd Bank net profit of 347 crores against estimate of 328 crores. So that's a marginal beat on net profit. The stock has reacted slightly negatively. What would be interesting is to see the NII data and see the net interest income, that is, and see if they have disappointed on that, or is it just routine profit booking after the kind of numbers that we have seen on IndusInd Bank. 347 crore is a number that we have at this point in time. Net NPA at 0.31% versus 0.22% quarter on quarter. So that's a bit of an increase that we have seen. We were watching, okay, NII of 730 crores versus estimate of 712 crores. So both profit and NII have come slightly ahead of estimates. NII largely in line with estimate and profit slightly ahead of estimate. Maybe there's a bit of a concern on the net NPA number, which has quite clearly come in higher. So some brokerages did expect asset qualities to actually for private banks this time to have a bit of a pressure, and looks like IndusInd Bank is showing that. Keep in mind, it's still very low in terms of the overall ratio, 1.18% gross NPA versus 1.11%. That's not a big slip. In terms of net number also, there's a bit of a slip, but don't think the market should be too perturbed about that. The stock is up 1.5%, Rima.
Some more details. The NII has grown by 26.5%, so 26.3% to be precise. NII has come in at 730 crore, while the net profit has grown by 30% on a year-on-year basis, 347 crore. The gross NPA has gone up by 14.5% in absolute terms, 626 versus 546, while the net NPA has gone up by 51% in absolute terms, about 165 versus 109. So the asset quality has slipped quite a bit. Nitin Kumar of Quant Broking now joins us. Hi Nitin, on the NII and profits, the numbers look fine, in fact slightly higher than what we were estimating, and it's a solid 25-30% growth. But your take on the asset quality, and is the deterioration quite significant?
Yeah, in fact, if I look at the trend, the run rate was 8 to 10% growth in gross NPL.
Okay.
So while the gross NPL this quarter, the growth was 15% close to, but net NPLs look to show a very sharp increase, sharper than what we were expecting. And this is partly reflecting the higher provisions that the bank made. Part of it would also be because of the MTM provisions. Last quarter, bank provided only for 1/7. Like for the 7 months, bank amortized 1/7 of the amount in the previous quarter, and as a result it had to take a relatively larger hit than what the other banks will take. But besides this, overall number looks relatively better.
Nitin, hi, good afternoon. The stock is in fact, as we speak, sliding. It was up about 2.5% before the numbers came out. It's up only 0.5%. What do you think could be leading to that? In fact, as we speak, it's flat now, and would you use any kind of weakness to buy into the stock?
Yeah, like there were two concerns on IndusInd Bank this quarter. Firstly was on the margin front, and secondly asset quality. On the margin, I think the bank, I'm yet to see the numbers, but it looks like the bank has done relatively better. And while the asset quality certainly has slipped, though the stock started inching up to today late morning, but I think with this kind of asset quality, the investors I think are booking profits. And yeah.
No, go ahead.
So we still need to look for the management commentary on the margin front, because we are expecting a decline at least for this quarter and the next before the margin shows any revival, and the guidance on the asset quality.
Nitin, is the slip in asset quality IndusInd Bank specific problem that we've seen in this quarter? Or do you think perhaps, quite a few private banks might show a deterioration in asset quality, which is slightly more than what the street was earlier anticipating? Or would you put it down to just a bank-specific problem this time?
So, yes, we may see some uptick, but I don't think it will be general enough, like every bank will report. A few banks have said that the stress asset formation will be relatively higher. And for IndusInd also, the management has earlier commented that the credit cost will remain within 60 basis points. Now we'll need to see if they would like to make any changes to that guidance. As regard other banks, I think we may see some increase, like for Axis or ICICI. So that is possible. Difficult to rule it out.
Okay, the stock is recovering as we speak. 1.5% higher is what we have on the stock. It had completely sold off and now almost getting back to the highs. Nitin, don't have the margin numbers yet, but what kind of numbers would you be working with?
So we were expecting close to 15 basis point compression, but given the way the NI has done, I think the compression should be lower than that.
Okay. Would the better than expected performance on the NII and even on the profits, we were estimating a profit growth of only 21%. The bank has delivered 30% profit growth. Would that in any way provide a floor for the market and a buying opportunity despite the weak asset quality?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, come again, please. I missed you.
I'm saying the NII as well as the profit figures are better than what the street was estimating. It's a solid 25-30% growth that we've seen respectively in the two operational parameters. Would that provide a floor? Would that provide a buying opportunity despite weak asset quality?
Yeah, like on a longer term basis, say if I look at next 1 year, then certainly it's a good stock to buy, because you look at the stock has not gone anywhere in last 3 to 4 months, despite Nifty rallying 300 to 400 points. And so the stock has gone through a time-based consolidation, I would say. And I think over the next 2 quarters also, we are expecting margin to improve as the high-cost borrowings that the bank has done last quarter, they begin to reprice, and the bulk deposits also reprices. And on the asset quality side, though we have seen an uptick this quarter, but if the management are able to deliver on the 60 to 70 basis point credit cost guidance, then I think it's not too much to worry about.
Sure. Nitin, just stay on with us. Ekta is also joining in. Ekta, first a word if you have on net interest margin and overall your word on the numbers, and if you have a question for Nitin.
Well, Anuj, I still don't have the details such as the net interest margins as well as in terms of slippages and restructured assets this quarter for IndusInd Bank, because that will come in from the press conference which is scheduled for this afternoon. But it has been a little bit of a disappointment for IndusInd Bank on the asset quality. I was just looking at the previous quarter provision numbers and how they've done on a percentage wise. So the provisions have jumped up in previous quarters as well. So it's not much of a surprise coming for the provisions, but it is a surprise which is coming on the gross NPA and the net NPA on an absolute basis. If you look at it on a percentage basis, it's still one of the best in class in terms of the banking space. The gross NPA, I think, only stands in terms of a ratio which is much less than other banks, which stand at anywhere between 5% in the PSU space. So compared to those banks and compared to the asset quality of other public sector banks, IndusInd Bank is definitely well placed. But you can see some stress emerging for IndusInd Bank as a bank as a whole, simply because their net NPAs have gone up 50% on a year-on-year basis in 1 quarter itself on an absolute basis. So the asset quality is a bit of an issue. We'll get more clarity from the management with regards to the CV portfolio, where they have a strong presence in. But Nitin, would you have any call on the net interest margins? Because maybe a spillover effect could have been seen from the previous quarter because of higher cost of funds?
Yes, sir. Like as I said, I was expecting close to 15 basis point compression. The previous quarter, the bank reported a margin compression of 7 basis points, and but NII number looks better than what we expected, and as a result, I think the margin compression should be lower than what we were expecting.
All right, Nitin, thanks a lot for your time. Well, it clearly looks like the market is still making up its mind on IndusInd Bank's numbers, because quite clearly, while net profit and net interest income, there's absolutely no reason to worry about that. Just a marginal slip in terms of asset quality is what's worrying market, and maybe the next move will come once the margin picture is out. Let's take a